The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas. Chapter 8, Part 2. Ein and Detective Brüller walked through a sea of silver and blue-striped Mercedes, Audis, BMWs, and Volkswagens, with Police emblazoned on the sides and top flashing light bars. They walked out of the garage to a rather nondescript Volkswagen Golf. Most of my work, Brüller explained, is with tourists looking for people who have scammed them. It is amazing how quickly some people can disappear when they see a police car. The ride was silent, with no information gained and no information shared. Ein merely pointing to turns that Brüller seemed to already be anticipating. The warehouse was unlocked. Everything that should have been there, everything that would corroborate her story, was gone. The chairs, the stage, the Sarajevo set, the lights, everything gone. It was here, Ein said, not knowing what else to add. She looked for something, some clue of belief. On the wall at the back were the bullet holes. She pointed at them. That is where the machine gun sprayed the wall. Brüller walked over, felt them, and taking a small penknife poked into one of them. "I'll get forensics to have a look," he said. "I don't know how old these are. Anything else?" "The stage was up there," Ein answered, pointing to the other end of the room. There was a column of lights on each side and one in the middle. The set was just large silhouettes of bombed-out buildings, and when the lights moved from side to side, the shadows made it look like time was passing. Ein looked at the emptiness she was pointed to. Empty of fact, or was it empty of belief? The chairs were here, she said, in the middle in rows on each side of the center lights. How many rows on each side? Not many, only about 10, I think, with 6 chairs in each row. That would be about 120 people, Brüller said. Was it full? No, she answered, almost empty. I remember feeling embarrassed for the actors. Did anyone stand out? Just one person, she replied. I only remember him because the place was so empty, and yet he came and sat right behind us. Every time Janos would translate the play for me, he would shh us. What happened? Janos made him stop. How? Ein shrugged her shoulders, not wanting to do the gun-pointing motion. What did he look like? He was very ordinary, except for one thing. He had a big mustache that came down and covered half his mouth. A walrus mustache? I guess you'd call it that. What color was it? Kind of a ginger color, although his hair was darker, more brown. Anything else? No, just that his breath smelled of apples. Apples? I nodded. For the first time since they had arrived at the warehouse, he took out his notepad and started writing. Ein watched him. It was the second time she had seen him take interest. The first was when she had said her husband's name. Do you know the man? She asked. No, Brüller replied, but he may be a person of interest. Ein looked around. She was as empty of things to say as the warehouse floor they were on. I'm afraid there isn't much to go on, Brüller said, putting his notebook away. Do you remember the name of the theater group or anything like that? No, she said. I only remember that Janos was quite excited when he saw the poster. The poster? The poster advertising it. We saw it at the music store. I'm sure the name of the group would be on that. The music store, which was more an internet cafe and music hackers hangout, made her feel old this time. With Janos, she had always felt vibrant and breezy when they went there, but now everyone seemed like teenagers, and she felt every one of her 27 years. She watched the eyes follow Brüller and her in. They had seen her before, that they had not seen Brüller, and a stiffness followed them. It is because he is a policeman, she said to herself. these people can always spot a policeman. On the message wall where the theater poster had been, there was now a notice of a hip-hop dance party with some guest artists she had never heard of. She looked at the venue. It wasn't at the warehouse they had just left. She recognized a freckled man across from the notices. "Do you remember the theater poster that was here yesterday?" she asked. "The one for the Sarajevo version of Hamlet?" The young man looked at her and then at Brüller. He shook his head and moved away, becoming part of the invisibility of the crowd. "Do you know any of the staff?" Brüller asked. Ein looked around, hoping for something that she knew was impossible. "No," she finally answered. "I'll get the manager," Brüller said to her. He returned with a woman who looked to be barely out of her teens. Her hair was dyed deep red, and she had eyeshadow and lipstick to match. She was very pregnant. Ein asked her about the poster. "I don't remember," the manager answered. "People put things up and people take things down. I only look when I want to go out at night, but with this," she said, pointing at her belly, "I must be a good little girl now. My boyfriend works here at night. Maybe he would remember." There was nowhere else to go, no other place of proof, of evidence of what had happened the night before. "What would you like to do now?" Brüller asked her. Ein had no idea what she wanted to do now. I guess I'll just go for a walk." "Here's my card," Brüller said to her. "If there is anything else, let me know." She took the card and smiled at him weakly and walked out onto the street. It was late afternoon now, and in Meat that was the start of a new day. Nearby there was a small cafe, unpretentious and honest, that she and Janos had often eaten at, and the thought of the food managed to outdo her other thoughts. Out of the corner of her eye she noticed something that looked familiar across the street. It was Horst Brüller in his inconspicuous Volkswagen. She smiled. The knowledge that he was going to follow her and watch her made her feel safer. It also gave her appetite, and she finished the meal, wiping the plate clean with a piece of dark rye bread. Out on the street she walked slowly, pausing to look in windows, but really to glance back and make sure Brüller was still there. He was. Secure in this, she decided to go back to Janos' small apartment. If the burly man came, Brüller would surely protect her. At the building, the concierge was nowhere to be seen. Even though she had the key, she knocked at the door to make sure there was no one there. The apartment was as she had left it, the door to the second bedroom still locked. This time she would not take a locked door for an answer. She put her shoulder to it, starting as far back as she could, but her thin body didn't carry the weight needed to break it. What she needed was some kind of battering ram. She found it in the shape of the bronze Hindu dancer in the main room. It was heavy, and with one hand on an arm and the other on a leg, she swung it in ever-increasing arcs until both she and the bronze hit the door at the same time. It cracked. On the second try, it gave way. She looked at the damaged door. There was no fixing it, no faking it now. She went into the room. That's the end of Chapter 8. Tomorrow, Chapter 9.